Can I switch gears for a second?
Please.
Of course, this is an opportunity for me to get something out of a journal that I've always seen lying around. Have you guys already revealed the journal entry?
So it's funny, this era, if you will.
11 episodes in. This is about a year or so after the pilot.
Well, this aired in
January 2000, right? January?
So I'm 23.
But when in 2000?
You're
Oh, no, I'm 22. I'm 22.
You're 22 playing high school.
Yeah.
And Majandra is like 19 playing high school.
Brendan, do you have Crash? Okay, so this thing aired
January
19th, 2000. So that means it shot about 2 months prior. So we're back to 1999. Either way, I'd still be the same age. I'm 18. Yeah, I'm 18. I'm turning 19 in February, right?
So you're like the real high school girl, and then everyone else, and Colin looks high school. Wexler looks like he's like 28.
Yeah.
Katie Heigl looks, I don't know, early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
want to say that's the thing, is that Katie is built in a way that is just like immediately like a sophisticated person.
Did she ever get to make out with anybody on the show?
Yes. Yeah.
I made out with her on the show.
Brendan, Colin.
That's your sister.
No,
yeah, but on the other planet, we're supposed to be together. Like, I'm the second in command.
Oh, because it was so weird when they were hugging. I was like, I'm a kind of a pervert, and I was like, oh, that would be kind of fun if like Jason and Katie as brother and sister just started making out. Like, I just have those thoughts,
They did.
Well, they ended up dating and then having to play brother and sister on the show, and it's funny. There's later on when they start dating.
That's exciting,
and that you're just like, you just you catch a look, and you're like, that doesn't feel.
So they were dating for how long?
I don't know, a long time.
So they made love
past the show ending.
They were making love. Can you just give me some data? Because this is what I love. I love gossip. And so, how many people made love on the cast?
Hi, I'm Brendan Fair.
And I'm Majandra Delfino. A decade or two ago,
Closer to 3, really.
a while back, we starred in the cult hit WB show Roswell.
And while we are in fact ex-co-stars, we are also actual exes. In real life.
Boyfriend and girlfriend exes.
Unnecessary clarification. But welcome to the X-Files, where we analyze all things Roswell. Episodes, co-stars, guest stars, and all the goings-on in front of the camera and behind the scenes.
In our probe, we may or may not agree, we may or may not get along, but if our history is any indication, we will most certainly dig up old stuff from the past and throw down. With guests, old and new, weighing in on who was right and who was wrong.
Oh, if we remember it, we're going to talk about it.
And if we don't remember, it's all good, because I kept my teenage diary to cross-reference, corroborate, confirm.
Wait, what?
Correct. So be prepared to pick a side.
Your actual diary, like, for real.
Having a change of heart?
More like a change of underwear.
Welcome
To the X-Files.
Not that many. Everybody was like...
You guys, Jason and Katie, who else?
First of all, I don't know about you guys. I've never made love. But no, I think...
That is true. Confirmed.
Besides... confirmed.
That is in my other data sheet, he said.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's funny. I've never seen your face making love, Majandra. I just realized that.
Well, you've seen my face, but it's certainly not... It's just not the look of love,
She just wears a mask all the time. it's a cake. David's cake.
You insist that I put a bag over my head.
No.
Brendan and I, Jason and Katie,
Two.
Shiri and my ex-husband, R.I.P. Devin Gummersall.
Wait, what?
Yes, he played my cousin.
Shiri and your ex-husband made love?
Mm-hmm. Again with the making love, that's tough. It's tough.
Venery.
So wait a minute.
Venery, exactly.
This is like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You've basically made love, Majandra.
Again?
You're one removed from making love to everybody in the cast.
Well, what I was going to say, if you'd let me finish, is then I had a brief stint where I hooked up with Kadams.
Stop it.
So.
Jesus Christ.
So
that gave me the worst feeling in my stomach because for a second
David,
I believed
how
you.
dare you, by the way.
Well, no, I always believe, Majandra, that you're harboring incredible secrets. A woman's heart is a deep ocean of mystery and secrets.
But don't you know Jason Kadams better than that?
I do. I knew. But, like physically,
responsible adults.
my stomach reacted while my brain knew it was untrue.
And your penis just jumped a little.
It just went inverted.
Oh, thought it would.
Anyone else, not Kadams?
Ironically, if you think about how many young people were on the show.
Can we pause? The cat's meowing out there.
I love that I kicked the cat out and then made it David's problem.
I know that it goes to...
What's unfortunate, David, is the diary entry around this time was I was very consumed with this, basically I didn't take to this thing unless something big happened, right?
Yeah.
So there wasn't I wasn't a disciplined diary person, and I had been consumed by, well, not consumed, but meaning the only entry that kind of spans that time was...
Is this your Taco Bell Gordita Crunch?
No, this was just the friend of mine now. I just reached out to her, by the way, where Brendan had a penchant, which, David, you can definitely speak to. Oh, my God. That was wild. Where
Go ahead.
He used to love to go to a party.
Just an asshole shot.
And a lot of the times, older women in our profession were very taken by him. I guess it's that brooding, off-putting.
Brendan, how many older women have you made love to?
Oh my God.
I've only made love to 3 people in my life.
All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. See you later.
Oh.
You take care. It's been good knowing you. Yeah. Como? Come again?
So he was talking to this woman. She's lovely, and she was overserved. And as he was leaving, she was sort of in a precarious, where it seemed like she could use some help. And
she was fucking hammered.
Yeah.
And Brendan was, didn't understand the implications of what it would be to take her by himself back to her apartment. Sorry.
You blocked Brendan having his 4th lovemaking session with an older woman?
No. So he took her, go ahead, Brendan, take it from here.
No, well, yeah, I took her to her apartment, and then I drove her car there, then parked it, and then walked her up to her apartment, and then, yeah, she tried to convince me to come in, and I stayed out in the hallway.
Were you one of those people, Brendan, that, anal sex isn't sex, or is this...
like soaking?
Right,
that's
where
you
hire
just put
someone
the
to bounce
penis
on
Aren't
the
there
bed
those,
for you.
religious people
we
who are
weren't.
like, yeah, no, we didn't have sex, it was in the butt?
Yeah, no, it felt very Catholic to me.
Yeah, I think it's also very Mormon, because I watch a ton of Real Housewives of Salt
But
Lake.
isn't Mormons more soaking?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I thought we were talking about soaking still. This is all to say, I could not compute from where I came from in Miami that a guy would turn down, you know what I mean? They'll take, truly,
Was she good looking?
beautiful,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
stunning, and like a woman. You saw what I look like? And she was like, she's not the puberty. This woman, got her period on the reg. She had a bras.
She was a woman.
She was a woman. She was even wearing a fur.
Yeah.
Wow. Brendan, you and I are so different.
Yeah. I mean...
Look at this.
The cat's tail just in your face. What kind of move is that?
It's what I knew he would do it. It's annoying.
When I first started dating David, and I learned that one night stands can exist on such a level. I was like, then what do you do after? Like, how do you kind of like have the conversation or like basically trying to say like shake these girls off? And he was like, they usually have like a flight in the morning. Remember?
I think I was hanging out at maybe like touristy bars, I guess. I don't know.
And you time it perfectly, like the night before they have the flight.
Yeah. Well, that was always a green light to just have, fall in love for one night,
So much love.
Well, I'm all love, and it's easy when you're drunk to basically convince yourself that it is love,
That's wild.
No, I never.
I'm not sure the convincing is, but yeah, to justify it.
And then waking up the next morning being like, are you sure you're not going to miss your flight? Like,
yeah.
How fast the love dissipates.
What's your confirmation code? Let me get this going for you.
Have you checked in?
So let me check you in.
Yeah.
You're an aisle gal, aren't you?
Well, this has been lovely. Thank you, David.
Oh, is this it? That was it, huh?
I mean, I don't want to keep you for too long. I did have a question for you when watching the episode, which was...
Please.
I really felt that you would relate greatly to these kids not remembering or saying they don't remember what happened. How old were they, Brendan? 7? 5? 6?
Oh, yeah. 5 or 6.
Yeah, what happened to them prior to the age of 6?
Yeah.
Do speak on that.
Oh, right, because I don't have any working memories of my childhood.
That's
yeah.
right.
Until what age?
I would say like I come online at like probably 8, Like I have like vague images of like climbing a tree, and like my mother had a beloved camera and took so many photos. So, memory is a weird thing, not to get philosophical, but it's obviously incredibly unreliable, and you can kind of morph it into whatever you want. And so I have created memories through storytelling in the family, but like as far as like being able, like I've tried to write a memoir and it's just me staring at the screen for like 2 hours because I'm like, I don't remember anything,
It starts in like 2019 because that's as far back as you can go.
So I moved to Maine when I was a child.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I'm probably there too. I'm probably kindergarten is
Yeah,
probably the first.
And Majandra has like memories of being an infant.
I'm like, when I had to pass my mother's labia. Okay, I will say, Brendan, you will describe like rooms and things like from your youth that show that you were online.
Well, I'm not. I think it could probably be, what's the word?
Shared memory?
No. Like, why do I keep wanting
Pathology?
to say recalled, I guess.
Oh, I
It
see
could
what you mean.
probably be like if someone
Yeah.
said, "Hey, kind of this thing," but I don't know what would, like, school is such a marker, right? That first day of kindergarten, you have something, and I don't know what it would be prior to that.
I like to just feel like it's all stored. It's all in the subconscious. If I really needed it, we could get some, a hypnotist or some good drugs and we could find it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I just take solace in that. It's all in there. It's all stored. Maybe it'll come out in a dream. But as far as current, my go-to thing when someone's like, "Hey man, how was your weekend?" I'm like, I don't have a working short-term memory. I can't tell you how my weekend was. I think it was good, but let's get right into what's going on right now. Like,
I think you do
that.
have a good memory. You know what I mean? Though I don't.
No, I know, but
I
I don't know what I did last weekend.
But if you 2 seconds, you will. You're online.
My brain gets very tired going into memory land. I get very exhausted.
That's why I thought this was so funny, because obviously a lot of times they say you don't have childhood memories because of trauma.
Right.
And I don't think that's the case with you, but I like that you're still having like a traumatic weekend and you can't remember it. Like, I like
that's
this
always the
concept
biggest bummer
why.
of child rearing is like, I think, Brendan, I've seen you parent your girls and I know you're an amazing father. Majandra, you're an incredible mother. I think I'm a pretty good dad. And I'm pretty sure my kids are only going to remember the times that I like just fucking lost it at them. Or like, Louis recently didn't know that I was like, you know what country you live in? And he's like, yeah, Scarborough. And I was like, no, country. And he didn't know. And I was like, I panicked on such a deep level and I just lost it. I just lost my mind. It's like, it was the feeling, it was the same feeling in my stomach as like watching a toddler walk into oncoming traffic. I was that scared that, that he didn't know that he lived in America. And then I calmed down. But he's going to remember like my dad shamed me for not knowing that we lived in America. Or maybe he won't tell that story because he's embarrassed. But you only really do remember the bad stuff in a lot of ways.
Right. So maybe that's why you don't remember anything. It was just so lovely.
Yeah, I think probably that's true.
Looking down, I know we haven't gone, it means nothing. It's a bit of a left turn here, but in this book, about the episode, they have all like the double take, the alienisms. Under cool facts, it says, before Roswell, Nick Wexler had no ability to play basketball whatsoever. He had to learn fast. But
so
just
great.
the verbiage chose it. No ability whatsoever.
Zero ability. Like,
That's wonderful. Yeah, you were ripping on him early in the episode about his skills.
And
Yeah,
I just read that. It was hilarious.
it was wild.
yeah, I didn't recognize him at all until I saw his arm. Once he got his leg injured, I was like, that's Nick? Whoa. And he had been dating Sherry. She'd broken up with him prior, like a
Yes.
few. Yeah. And
Yes.
he brought him the pie, and then
And
Yeah.
he is just gold on this show, David. He takes the most vanilla character and infuses him with everything's hilarious, but just like these quirks. He's just like weird, but like so appealing, and he becomes a Buddhist. Like, it's just
Yeah, because he's supposed to be like just the typical trope jock, right? It's kind of
yeah.
the way I think
That's what it was. It was like very jockey.
It
high
would be on
school,
the page,
generic.
but what he brings to that and part of it is because he doesn't like sports.
Yes.
Like, he's not a sports guy. He's not interested in that. This is not
He likes powerlifting.
someone he can identify with. And so I think to make it fun for him and it makes it interesting is he brings just all those Nickisms to this supposed, it rounds him out very nice. It adds a lot of colors that I think you give this role to anyone else and they just kind of play it down the middle and you go, yeah, that's the character, I guess.
Yeah. I had a question about, I felt like, who's our sheriff?
Bill Sadler.
Bill Sadler, who I love as an actor. It felt a little bit like when he's suspicious, those suspicious scenes, it was a little heavy-handed, I thought. But like in that, when he puts the fire out, and I know I missed some episodes where he was already under suspicion, but it felt like, if I had gotten that audition scene, I would have been like, ease back, It was a little over the top.
Yeah, they had him sort of as more of like a tropey type of like the snake that's, kind of
Yes.
slinks
yes.
in and is supposed to be like, but he does end up joining forces with all of us. And he
he
does have
finds out
a
in
really
the first-
great sort of thing. But yeah,
There's
that was
so
no
much
surprise, of course.
staring on these shows.
There is a lot of staring.
And I was like, I even wrote that down. I was like, so much staring, and it's like, I think that's what weirdly, it always bothered me. And I'm so glad to hear, I think it was Marlon Brando or like, it was some like amazing actor being like, no one, when you, in real life, you don't just fucking stare at people while you talk. And somehow on TV, especially TV, they're just constantly like, we got to see your eyes. We got to see your eyes. And like, so you just, to this day, I have a hard time with television because everyone's just like, like doing that thing. And I always find it more interesting when actors are are hiding themselves and then giving a little taste, and I can put my own story on it a little bit. And you guys had more of that, meaning there's just more kind of aliveness that I like, and it's just a general note for all of television to this day, and even in the show, it's just like enough with the staring.
Yeah, I think that's from a different generation, like where people were good at like eye contact, and no one's comfortable with that anymore.
Well, yeah, and
So it feels
and I
unrealistic.
remember doing kind of quote unquote romantic shows, and I was talking to Jeremy Sisto about this too, because both of us, I have a hard time looking at people in the eye because I kind of the window into the soul cliche.
I'm always staring
but
at
like,
their tits.
Yeah, he's like, I just.
yeah, but it distracts me if I really start looking at eyes, and I lose track of the conversation. So I have to stare at people's mouths weirdly. Otherwise, I start to connect
look
on
at people's
different
mouths.
soul level stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I always look at people's mouths a lot.
Yeah. And then, yeah. And
Which
I
I think
know.
is weird. It's like, do they know I'm staring at their mouth? Like this
I
Yeah, what
know
a
they
creep.
are, because I get a lot of this when I'm talking to people. They start going like, yeah, and then I went to the store and like I was doing this, and
Yeah,
like
they start to-
they subconsciously start fucking with their mouth, thinking they have food on it.
Yeah, I try not to look at a person, period, when
felt
I'm talking
bad.
to them. Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
like you don't even want to look. And I've started to do this weird middle-aged thing where I can't gather my thoughts. The only way I can actually, I've been doing it pretty well on this, but I close my eyes like for long stretches to listen and to talk. Otherwise, I'm just distracted by the visual field.
Well, yeah, that's what, I don't know the science behind it or who said it or whatever else, but people who are listening tend to look at the person talking, and the person talking tends to not be looking at the person they're talking to.
Yeah, and TV is just all just like as you're talking, like blah, 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 blah. Enough. That's my PSA.
Because
for
when it's a
TV acting.
solo, because you're not in the world. I mean, if it's a big wide, or I think you can get away with it. But when it's just you on screen and you know the geography of it, and if you were to not look at this person or glance, it would just seem, because what the camera would do, it just seems like you would not be interested in it, that you were ignoring them, that you had a boundary up. It wouldn't seem natural and okay and fun. It would give you, I think, this like subconscious sense of like, this person doesn't want to be having this conversation, even if they kind of wanted to be, because
I think you're right, and I've gotten that note when I try to do my thing, and then I try to figure out like, well, then why, when you watch Brando and watch James Dean and you watch these like amazing actors, they so rarely. I mean, Pacino's all over the place, and I mean these guys hammer, but people like De Niro, like it's all they're in there, and they're not doing that a lot, And so somehow they're getting away with it, I think.
interesting.
Give it a look.
I always felt like they did make a lot of eye contact. Like I always thought I didn't make enough.
I don't. I know it. I guess.
I always also wanted to be able to pull off.
whatever is like needed type of thing.
Well, no, the ability, and I think I'm better too. Like the ability to, it was watching this episode. I was looking at myself. I was looking at like Michael's reactions to Maria or to a conversation happening and people talking. And I think now part of it was I just didn't know anything about acting. I wasn't thinking about it like that. I was thinking it more kind of viscerally. I wasn't thinking technically per se. And I was just going with my instinct. But now, and I would just, without an expression here or there, just kind of be listening. And now I think if I were to do those scenes again, I'd be like,
Mm-hmm. Right.
No, I was so glad you said that. Like, there's that problem that we begin to know what good acting is, and then we get, and I have to say, Brennan, both of you guys, that sort of raw, unfinished, like uncut diamond thing, like you guys, I was like, wait, Brendan had never acted before? He came off a boat from Canada, like, and straight into this scene, and you had that rawness
I like he was on a boat in the back of like
he
an
just took some
18-wheeler
weird
because
river
there's
down
no
from
exactly.
Manitoba.
You didn't have to take the river, bro. Yeah, he was new.
Yeah, but the newness and it's I respect that you look back at that and you see that there was just like that purity. I think it's similar to, amazing kid actors,
But that's what I was just going to say, which I'm resentful of this parallel. I would actually say that it takes away from the credit that we deserve. Because I, for instance, was already a hardened actor.
Yeah, you were experienced.
Day one was with Colin on the pilot. And I was like, do you know your lines? Because I really want to get this done in one take. I was like already like out the fucking door.
Colin's like, ah.
I know. He was like, geez. But it was a time where that was of value to be as real as possible.
Yeah.
And people really gave you allowances as long as you could make it authentic.
Yeah.
That's what made that show special and different. It wasn't like that phone, specific sort of timing that TV can have that feels so artificial.
Well, that's the Kadam signature, which he leaned into much more later, with Friday Night Lights, that kind of documentary feel. Yep.
And then it wasn't until other projects later that you start to want to deliver what they want, and what they want is kind of robotic.
Well, I have a difficult time watching myself do stuff because I can see you don't trust that, just being there is enough. And sometimes it isn't, and it's dead. It's like every scene is its own little cake. And, I think the thing that we respect as actors when actors do it is like an entire movie or an entire series where every scene the guy is just bringing it so true and deep, and all new elements and layers just keep evolving. I mean, Gandolfini in The Sopranos just popped into my head. It's just like these insane performances where every scene they are just on point. And that's an exceptional skill.
That is the exact point. That it is so hard to convey thoughts and feeling by just, standing still or sitting, whatever, just not talking or making facial expressions, that most of us have to push a little bit to.
Well, I think the hardest
that.
thing in acting, not to get under the hood, but it's like sitting still and being quiet and thinking the actual thoughts of the character, because your mind is going whatever. And
exactly.
I think the people who are mesmerizing are so focused and so consumed by the imaginary circumstances that in their stillness, everything that's going on is the thing that's going on.
That's exactly it. Yep.
And when I'm still, often, especially in auditions where you don't have a lot of time, it's like I'm still and I'm like, oh God, I hope they can't see that I got nothing going.
That I'm just trying to find my place on the page again after looking up. Yeah. No, that's 100% it. I was watching Harry Potter, and Maggie Smith, Professor McGonagall, just did one thing. I mean, she was just looking while they were talking, and it was like,
well,
whoa.
those British actors are on a whole other level. I'm so pissed at them.
But it's not just because they're something is going on. Oh boy, yeah. Well, they're learning something we're not.
They are. Well, they have the language. They have the built-in turn of phrase in the way that British people speak, so they can create melodies through a line. And it's a different style of acting than American, which is that animal, guttural kind of like thing, like spit coming off your thing. And British people, they can do that, of course, but they have this inherent melody.
I think that it is whatever it is, like
Harry Potter.
Okay, that's not. But like, if you're born Canadian, you're gonna have like sort of hockey running through your veins, whether you want to or not. I think that British people have this like Shakespearean thing or an orator thing or something, because it truly is like just like part of the foundation to be able to speak a certain way. And like, well,
that's like, you can just do it. Like the minute you do an accent, like for example, like
no.
like
Brendan.
You know,
Brendan had to be British in something. Brendan, please.
I can't get indebted. I can't get entangled. I've got to be a Stonewall. You know, like they can just milk the shit, you know, where we just have to vomit it out. But that's good too. Like, that's why I always thought Canadians and Australians have this like higher percentage of kind of weirdly making it men. Because there's something kind of just like, I guess, raw and like, not like meatheady is probably the wrong term, but like, you know, I look at Australian actors and they're just somehow they, I don't know what they're
David,
doing.
I feel
there's
like
just a manliness there.
Right.
And I think, Brendan,
I
you
don't
have a
think
manliness. You know?
Yeah, Brendan is a terrible representative of Canada.
Is
you
he?
know, well, he's not that he doesn't love his country and isn't a great upstanding citizen, meaning he comes off more like animal Australian. I think Canadians in general tend to be, there's almost like it's British almost, like there's something very parallel.
Ryan Reynolds
part of the
and
Commonwealth,
Gosling.
right?
Right, you're part of the Commonwealth, but there, you know what I'm saying? Like there is actually something a little bit more, almost not neurotic. It's not lack of overthinking, which I do associate Australians with. You know what I mean? They're kind of shooting from the hip.
Hey, 18.
Yeah.
David, all these
my favorite number.
reductive things of all the different cultures is great.
I like stereotypes, and I like simplifying and insulting entire countries.
I think you actually come from a place that's closer to Australian men, and that is Boston men.
Yeah. Let's give the fans what they want. What was your favorite set to be on? Like, did you like a certain set?
Paramount, you know.
No. On the show. Did you like the restaurant? Did you like the quarry? Did you like the high school? Did you like...
I liked the high school. I thought the hallways of the high school were fun. I loved high school growing up. And so I did. I loved going to high school. I loved being at school.
Yeah.
And so, it kind of brought me back to that, even though Michael, wasn't exactly a diligent student and didn't, skipped out on most things and didn't particularly like school. I personally enjoyed those hallways, just the lockers, the kids walking around. It really, that set you up, how wardrobe sets you up as an actor to be in a certain frame of mind and everything else. The school set that up for me. It was very easy to act in those places and in the classrooms and all that.
Cool.
The sheriff's office.
You loved it?
I'm going to say I loved it because once in a while, on occasion, we'd have to do a one-on-one with Bill Sadler.
Sure.
And he's so fucking good. And you'd be in that room alone with him. And things would come out that you're like, oh my God, like it felt like a miracle. Because he's just so good that you would be so much better. And so I associate sitting at that chair, like across from him. And when you've had to sit across from him, everybody just like rises to the occasion. I mean,
you had a great scene. I think that was one of the few scenes I'd seen of Roswell. It's like you're in a crying scene. I think you maybe even hired an acting coach for that scene.
No, that wasn't the one I had to hire an acting coach for. That scene went so well with Bill Sadler, like he was just able to like get me crying. I don't even know how the fuck it happened. That then after that, you're like, something's broken and you need to start almost wanting to like sense memory, that kind of thing, so that you can always do that again, because it was like, what is that magic? And then that's when I started seeing Warner a little bit more seriously. I'd go through my ins and outs, my phases of like taking things seriously and then forgetting that I was a professional. And she came with me to a scene that I had to start bawling, crying to Colin. And they did his coverage first, and I just blew it all on his coverage.
Oh, nice.
And was just like, it's totally just like bone dry by the time it was on me.
Empty the tank. Empty the tank. Cameras on you.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
David, can you tell us what you're up to these days?
Just clean, doing dishes and sweeping and,
Truly
trying to
doesn't remember.
I'm just trying to make your life better. is what I'm
That's
doing.
amazing.
Yeah.
And what
Professional
else?
Husband.
Okay.
No, I have my own podcast project I'm doing. It's called Starting Stand Up with David Walton. I had the misguided, I don't know, I had this weird soul level kind of realization that I should try to do the most direct art form on earth, which is come up, write things, and then go up on stage and try to entertain and make people laugh. So I've done about 16 or 17 open mics.
It's where he practices all his staring.
What's that?
It's where you practice all your staring, just staring out into the crowd.
Yeah, into the blackness.
Is this working?
Yeah, staring into the silence. And so anyway, this podcast is I do it. It comes out every Thursday, and it tracks this sort of quest to get good at something, starting as a beginner. And so it's fun and scary and all the things in between.
It's very impressive. Takes a lot of balls.
Very impressive. Terrifying.
I mean, fucking
Is there
terrifying.
any video? Is there clips of your?
I'm keeping it in my pocket a little bit. I love doing podcasts, and I don't like doing video, and I don't like doing social media. So I don't do a lot of marketing, but I do have some video. Like, for example, my most recent stand-up set, which was like the first time something clicked, and it was cool because right after 3 kind of the professionals all asked me to be in their real shows. So it was sort of this,
oh shit.
It was a nice, also scary feeling, but it was also like, and do you have 10 minutes? And I was like, no. And that's sort of the minimum amount of time you need to kind of be in a real paid show. So I'm working on that. So like Sunday, I'm going to go test like 5 minutes of new material, and to get 10 minutes, and then I'll start sharing. Like if I have clips, I on the podcast share like my bombs, but at this point I've shared enough bombs. Like I'm excited to share like a success.
Yeah. Do you go back and watch yourself and take notes?
That's like the number one piece of advice from all the stand-ups as a absolutely non-negotiable. You listen to every single thing you do, and you see where you got the laughs, and you cut voraciously stuff that isn't getting laughs. So much of stand-up is about, just like good writing, is just about editing and cutting all the fluff. And so your laughs per minute and just the efficiency of your words, but making it sound like it's just conversational.
Right.
So it's very, very difficult because you get up there and you kind of and you're doing your little, but it's not that. And you'll see now anyone who's made it and is on your radar is just a finely tuned machine who's had thousands of mics, you know.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, no, it's truly like the 10,000 hours times 10,000. It's so scary.
Stand-up is way more scientific than I thought.
Interesting. So you didn't realize that? Okay.
No, I thought I could just get up there and be like interesting and kind of like give a good wedding toast.
Oh.
That's not it.
Because you are so good at a wedding toast that I can see that's a huge wake-up call to realize that it is honestly the most work of any of the...
Yeah, it is. It feels like having to climb Mount Everest, but it is at the same time, there's something extremely pure about it because you can speak, even if you don't make them laugh, like you are saying what you want up there and whatever you want to talk about. So, and usually the more original, weirder stuff is where the action is. So, you know, I'm not getting up there and like doing a new take on airplane travel, you know, like that's a lot of these guys, like you'll see Louis C.K. do like airplane jokes and it's like almost meta because it's such hack material, but he's like Michael Jordan. And so he's basically being like, I can make airplanes funny. Watch this.
Right. I can make the trite things funny again. Well, dying is easy. Comedy's hard. Speaking of trite things to say. And it's
anyway, it's been a joy. I'm very proud of you guys, and I'm proud that you're doing this show. And it's I know it's a lot of work, but I know a lot of people who truly love it. So keep it up. And
thank you.
I love seeing you guys work as prepubescent teenagers.
Thank you. And you're very kind to come on here, very ballsy to show up with that beard.
It's so cold in my office for those watching video. I'm
it was
wearing
a real vibe just coming on with his jacket and
4 layers. I should have shown more chest. But.
I'm downstairs from him, dying of heat, but not turning it off because I know that I am heating you. And if I turn it off, you're really fucked up there. So it's just, the sacrifices we make. But thank you so much for being on and watching the show.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm in. I can't wait to watch episode 12. See where this heads.
There you go.
Yeah.
When does Jason's mom find out he's an alien?
Never.
I don't think.
Oh, wow.
We also are not the right people to ask.
Yeah,
we are
we also
learning
don't
every
know
time we
the
watch
answer
an
to that
episode. We're like,
question.
oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good luck to you guys. Good seeing you, Brennan.
You too, man. Thank you.
Take her easy. Later.
So he's like, call me.
Call me. Call me right after, Brennan. Majandra, I'll see you in a couple days. Bye.
Bye.
In solidarity with your husband, I warmed up too.
Oh, yeah. I know. He was so cold. He's always like, can I come down now? It's really cold.
But heat rises, so if you have the bottom
I know.
one, you would think that it would be hotter up there.
It's just, drafty ocean shit.
Well, that was a treat. How'd you feel that went? That could go one of two ways with the old spouse. Not an esposa, by the way.
Oh, not an esposo. Not even an esposo. Yeah, I thought that went well. David's always a good time. It's just very interesting his take and issue that I think he needs to work on about people making eye contact. It was really interesting. He really didn't like that. Too much staring.
And you don't like... he didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not sure how... I mean, eye contact is uncomfortable. I do challenge...
It's so uncomfortable.
But I've gotten better with it. It is a power move.
Oh, yeah.
To just not be okay with just looking at someone until, even with these sleepy eyes.
Yeah, that's, have we talked about that on the show? How sometimes I'll just start blinking a lot.
Yes, we've talked about that a little bit. Well, I first noticed it when editing Baron and Sluka, where it's like, this fucking bitch can't keep her eyes open.
It's impossible to edit because you can't. Suddenly, my eyes closed, my eyes open.
But I don't notice it in real life.
No, but that's what was so funny is we were out to dinner, me, you, Brown, Nick, Jason, and you were like, "You're doing the blinking thing," and then you're like, yeah, "I would look into that." You thought it's maybe I'm always having a mini stroke, and it's true. It's very weird.
Okay, well, we didn't get before the lovely guest David came on. We didn't get to finish our notes, so we're gonna hop right back into this bad boy. Because I did like this episode. My notes are a little sloppy. They're on several pieces of paper. I was doing it at night, but I don't know.
First, I just want to say, and I don't want to bring the energy down by any stretch. I know it's my job as a young lady to keep it up.
Smile.
In every way.
Why aren't you
with every
smiling?
organ. I am.
No, I know.
What do you mean? No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
And it's by the way, that's the one spot on my face that I don't have wrinkles coming because I never smile.
Oh, there you go.
That's my hot skincare tip. Don't be happy.
Clinique got it totally wrong.
Wait, is that what Clinique says?
Isn't it be happy?
Fuck you, Clinique. It's immediately we see it in action. No, what I was going to say is that it was very heartbreaking to see Mary Ellen so much.
Yeah.
Who was obviously a dear friend to all of us, and passed away very young, when my son was about 2 or 3. And she was very much a part of my life after Roswell. She was a bridesmaid for David and I always have to clarify which wedding, that's tough.
Which one?
To which co-star.
Exactly.
And she loved David. And she just was so... him and I broke up briefly, and she just swooped in this way to kind of set us back up together in this very fairy godmother sort of way. Like, it was like, no, that's not what I'm doing. And yet, just like orchestrated this whole, just reuniting. And I don't think I'll ever forgive her for that. No, but she was just such a huge part of our life. And it just was such a sad thing. And so it was very hard to see her. But then it also made me so happy, of course, to be able to spend time with her again, and also just to see how good she was. I didn't really pay attention to that back then because I just thought we were all good.
Right. I know. She
was so special.
I didn't have that kind of a relationship with her. We got along well, but obviously...
She loved you, though, Brendan.
No, she is. No, but she is. But I also didn't spend a lot of time with her on set. Like, it wasn't my...
Right.
Parent, and I wasn't really over at the Evans house that often, unless I was like sneaking in the window at night saying, Max, we got to do something. But I remember there used to be, I collected Spider-Man stuff, action figures, and a little bit of comics, but not too many. More figures, figurines, old phones, and stuff like that. And... excuse me. There was at that comic book shop on Sunset, they had this Spider-Man bike, like a little kid's bike, and it was just awesome. And I don't know how much. I think it was like $500 or something, or $350. And I just thought it was the coolest thing, and I clearly had enough. I was making enough money to buy it. I don't know why I didn't, but I was like,
No, you would never have bought something that expensive. Meaning that was that kind of in between where you're like, is this a I'm not sure,
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I guess I had a conversation with her about it in some way, shape, or form. I think my birthday was coming up. I don't know. But everyone... So I guess, I did have conversations with her, and lo and behold, I walk into my trailer one day on Roswell, and the Spider-Man bike is sitting there. It's just leaning up against the couch, and there's a note that said something along the lines of, I know this is something you really wanted. Happy birthday. And it was from Mary Ellen Trainor.
Yeah, she's...
just like, sweetheart.
It's such a sweetheart, and it's so funny because I feel like people a lot of the times get a compliment about being so generous. And there's almost an implication to the adjective of generous that implies that the person just spends money. Oh, they're so generous. Like they're just giving things out. But Mary Ellen was, in my opinion, the true meaning of generous in just how considerate she was. You probably didn't even mention the bike loud enough for anyone else to hear. She was so in tune with just who everybody was. She had such a way of like piercing into people's souls. She would say stuff to me about you that was so insightful. And I remember much later...
She's like, you need to leave him.
She was like,
he is
dodged a bullet. Whew. No.
So insightful.
Yeah, exactly. She goes, best thing you ever did. No, she said to me, this is so much later in life. I don't think there was any reason for you to be brought up. We were out to dinner. And every time she'd come into town, we'd go out to dinner. And she was really kind of like a second mom to Devin, my first husband. And that's what was so incredible, is that you wonder when that relationship fell apart, if what's going to happen. And no, she just continued to still be so close to me, still so close to him, really embraced David. But I remember during a dinner, she said, I think Brendan, and I'm sure bringing that up was kind of skating on thin ice around Devin, meaning that's not the easiest thing to bring up out of nowhere. And she said, I just feel that Brendan, what did she say? She was like, if he could just, he would be, she brought you up under the context of her ex-husband, who's an incredible fucking director, Robert Zemeckis, and basically said you have the same sort of life force tandem to creativity, and if those two things could combine, like nothing could stop you. And did I say, well, what about me? What do you see? What do you see over here?
Now I'm in my garage doing a podcast.
No, but
so clearly we both failed on some level.
You know what? I'm so happy she's not here to see this. But it was just such an interesting thing where I was like, wow, it was such a compliment. It also gave you such power. And I was like, and what, keep going. Mention something else about everyone at the table.
Yeah, exactly. Compliments to everyone, please.
Exactly. She's like, oh no, that's not what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm just spitting truths. But yeah, that was both heartbreaking and wonderful to see so much of her too in this episode.
I agree.
Are you frozen?
I know.
What did you say?
I said I agree. I agree.
Oh,
it was good. It's always tough adding the adults in a kid's show. It's like especially for writers, like, oh, are the kids going to tune these out? We talked about it with Valenti and Diane Farr. Diane talked about it a little bit, and I think they did. There was a good balance there with how much they got involved in the adult's life, and then how they put them into positions of the kid's life to kind of stay in that realm and tell their stories. So it was very good.
I remember. Don't you remember as a kid? Because you were a 90210 fan.
Yeah.
I was a My So-Called Life fan because I'm younger. I remember every time on My So-Called Life that they'd go parent heavy. I was like, ugh, ew. It was truly an ew. Because they'd be like kissing or whatever. And that would burn my eyes.
Speaking of kind of a family element, I like the fact in this episode that it's adding a different dynamic where it almost feels like Max and Isabel versus Michael. In the sense of, obviously Max disagrees with Isabel and so does Michael. But that brother-sister connection, they're kind of always going off by themselves. And Michael keeps going like, hey, like peeking around a bush. Like, hey, what are you guys doing?
Like, did you say something?
Yeah. No, we're not telling anyone, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So I liked that added just a little different element where it seemed a little... It sets everything on edge, where everything is kind of fractured, just a little bit, enough where you don't necessarily want to, because Michael's such a hothead, you don't want to necessarily include him in this conversation at this moment. You want to have a reasonable conversation first, and then let it. But I just kind of noticed that they were always going off on their own, and I enjoyed that.
It was very interesting to me how much, and I think maybe because I was watching it sort of through the lens of my spouse's eyes, that I really took Michael in a different way. Like, I feel like it was like the first time I was able to sort of see him maybe how other people first saw him. I couldn't believe how hot-headed he was. He's like a fucking Latin dude. I mean, he's so... Like, you reminded me of a cousin or my dad, like someone who's always just so ready to like be defensive and be like, what? Huh? And it was just so scary almost. I couldn't believe how frightening he was for a high schooler.
Yeah, he was definitely intense.
That would have, and that's the thing I was going to say, that would have scared me, but obviously not, because that's, when I first moved to LA, the neighbors called the cops on my family because we were just having a conversation. But meaning, obviously, I'm used to a very loud, combative, spicy environment. But he really was so hardened comparatively.
Yeah.
And so was Max. I mean, the three of them really were incredibly mature and much more sort of layered and almost damaged in a way that you just don't see in children.
Well, that's what I liked about him, and that's why, looking back, we letting in too many people too soon. You're going to form those relationships and those bonds. I'm going to go bowling with Kyle in Significant Others. I'm going to have nice talks with Sheriff Valenti. I'm going to have a job at a security place. I forget where that worked. I know it's security, but I don't know what company I was working for.
And just like specifically with the position. Anyway, go ahead. Security.
But I thought that's what gave him that edge, was keeping everybody on the outside and making sure that happened. And he always maintained that a little bit, but it did soften. As the seasons went on, because you just have no choice. And to have, I just always keeping that on the forefront and keeping that as a possibility that he's going to lose it and that too much stuff is happening was always where I enjoyed playing him. But
yes, yeah, it's just interesting because it almost goes back to that conversation we were having about what is a bad boy. I had asked Brendan, what is a bad boy? Like, I don't even think I've met one of those. I've my whole life thought to myself, I don't think I've met a bad boy.
Yeah, the guy with like the chain wallet and the skull ring. You're like,
well, no. And then I
boy.
realized, the bad boys are those insecure, like douchey guys. Oh, like those have never seemed bad to me. They've seemed like, and I'm so sorry to say this, I'm sure it'll get me canceled, but just like total wimps. Like, so they just seem to me like, that's high maintenance, overly feeling guy who is just a little fucking twerp. So anyway, it's never registered as sexy or whatever. And so I never understood that, because you're supposed to be attracted to a bad boy. So I couldn't understand what that meant. And then I realized watching this, I was like, is this what people think is a bad boy? When I actually bad boy bad boys. But what's interesting is that he is so warm and gushy, Michael. He's such a sweetheart. He's such a open fucking vessel that's all I saw back in the day. And then now I'm like, okay. This guy is
finally saw what I was offering up. She fucking
the opposite. Meaning now I think, what a pussy.
I know, yeah.
What a defensive little pussy.
There was a scene in this that Katie was doing where, and I love a blue eyeshadow on a woman. I've lost her, folks.
Oh my God. How? Did not see that coming. Wow. Okay. Thank you for that disclaimer. Go on.
But she's got some makeup going on. I think she's doing her makeup in the scene. I forget. And it's like it's top and bottom. I was just like, it looks like she's got two black eyes.
But also, do you specifically love blue eyeshadow on a woman?
I think
God, and she was wearing a blue eye. You know how I love blue eyeshadow on a woman.
This is going to sound super kinky and perverted.
Because it looks like they've been beat up.
No, that's not what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
No, because
just little slide it around a little bit.
I think it's a very it feels like a very Jessica Rabbit comic book thing. You know what I mean? Like
Jessica Rabbit.
And so, and like even like back in the day, like a Dolly Parton. You know what I mean? With like the blue eyeshadow. There's just something that like screamed, and it feels like a little bit, I guess. And again, I'm okay saying it, but it does feel a little bit slutty, trampy,
trashy, yeah.
Trashy.
And
so
it's
got that little, so, I've always liked, if you can pull it off, it's a very bold look, but anyways, Katie has it, and it was just like, kind of, and I just went, I don't think that's the way that should be worn. That's all.
I don't like that application.
Exactly. What are you using?
Yeah. You know what?
The wardrobe in this is Michael's. This is top tier shit.
Top tier shit. Michael is not afraid of a tight shirt and a tight pant. And now I'm going to say this. I'm going to say you're one of my best friends. I'm not going to give you the soul thing because then you get cocky.
No,
you start being mean.
Use it against you. Use it as ammunition.
Yeah, and you just start getting real loose. But I know you quite well. Is my point. And I was like, where's his dick in those pants?
What pants?
So when you're What pants? When you were at the quarry, it's just like, I feel like I know where a penis sits. And this is not to imply to anyone listening.
Listen, I'm no big Dick David.
That Brendan isn't very well endowed. Listen,
oh, jeez.
No one likes him when they meet him, and yet they stick around. Ask yourself why. But it really was anatomically confusing, Brendan.
I'll go back and people are going to maybe go back and take a look. I'm going to have to go back and take a look because I don't wear tight pants.
I just feel like you must have been uncomfortable. Or hadn't gone through puberty yet.
All right.
Still in the micro penis land of pre-puberty. But yeah, tight clothes.
Okay.
And then Katie in one scene is dressed, she can only be compared to Deborah Vance in Hacks. She's wearing a black zebra coat.
Brilliant.
And it is just... It's Deborah Vance. I was like, this is incredible. And at the time, we all were like, I look amazing.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
And,
look at this
and
fit.
maybe we needed a mass dose of therapy, massive doses of therapy, which is what
Masseter.
You say.
Right.
Which is what you say Michael needs. Maria says that to Michael. You need massive doses of therapy.
No, that's right. Gosh.
What a line. That's a very you line, though. Not that you would say it, but you're always very into like psychology.
I'm into betterment.
Yeah, exactly. Massive doses of therapy.
Yeah, also maybe just like dictation, like what is a sort of, I don't know, elocution lessons so you can say massive doses.
I know. I keep wanting to say because I just have mass on my notes and then I keep going
Massachusetts doses.
Massive dose of therapy. Yeah, I need.
I have to say,
did you say I needed to be electrocuted, or are you talking about eloquence? Electrocution therapy.
Listen, it would be great. A bit of a lobotomy.
Like any normal human being. You really throw some heat at me on this episode.
So Louis was next to me during that. It's so funny that Louis is always the one who kind of pops in and out and makes these comments, and he goes, "Ooh, you got him good." I was like, "Did you even understand what any of that meant?" But he was like, "Ooh," he did one of those. And then it's so funny because whenever Louis pops in, he'll be like, "How'd you guys break up?" Like he'll always have these questions about you and I, and he's like, "Did you guys say I love you?" Like Louis, get out of here.
We talked about it the other day in terms of like what was the final straw for me and you, and we
remains to be seen, Brendan.
It does remain. I mean, still,
we have the worst memory.
I know.
We thought it was a fight over someone else's religious beliefs. That was just one. But no, by then, I think by then I was already with Devin and you were with Jen. So that's not it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that wasn't it. Yeah, I don't know.
I think we want it to be something big, but it was like, we really went out swinging and then
Yeah,
you
I
get
think
tired
it was.
and then
Yeah, I
you
think it
take a
was
nap.
just lack of energy for like I can't keep. I can't continue to do this anymore.
Is exhausting.
I have always questioned because people have said I have a poor throwing motion.
Excuse me?
I kind of push instead of. I've always been a little self-conscious about it, and
But who has said this?
when we used to play softball or slow pitch, kind of not as kids you don't really care, but then as an adult, when I played slow pitch in Glendale, the guys would kind of say like it's not a great throwing motion, like you're kind of pushing it, and I always thought it was coming from. And I'm gonna say, when I throw that rock in the quarry, I feel pretty good about it. I mean, is it textbook? Okay. No. Mm-hmm. But I'm not embarrassed about that. I'm embarrassed about my golf swing. I don't even watch videos of that.
Really?
No, I know what it looks like already, and it's not changing. And I can play golf, and it works. Not anymore. But it used to. It was the same. And it's just it's not a pretty swing. That's all.
I mean, who cares, right? At the end of the day, you can fucking Happy Madison it. Is that his name? Is that his name?
Happy Gilmore.
Well, sorry, Happy Madison is the production company.
Yeah, I know. But
Happy Gilmore. Happy Madison. Happy Massachusetts.
Exactly.
Right? Like, as long as it's...
as long as it's repeatable is what they say.
I was going to say, if there's hair on the lawn, play ball.
Oh, jeez.
I gotta get my sayings right.
This is, yeah.
But meaning, like, right, as long as you're getting and it's consistent and you can control it and you're not hurting yourself, right?
They generally say, as long as it's obviously, you need to be doing what you're doing in terms of whether it's pitching, if you got to, curveball, fastball, if it's reaching the speeds that are necessary, if you're hitting, the golf ball, as long as you're keeping it in play, blah, blah, blah. But basically anything, as long as it's repeatable,
right,
is what you're after, that consistency and being, yeah. And it's pretty repeatable because I've tried to change it and it's not happening. If Tiger Woods takes 2 years to change his swing, how long is it going to take me? And he's doing that for
less because he's had it so stuck in there for way too long.
I mean, so have I, as long as he has almost.
No,
I mean, besides
haven't.
He's just had a better swing.
He's been playing since he was 2.
I know, but what I'm saying is, I've played since I was. At this point, I'm 30 years in. It's
right.
like,
but you're
locked
62. in. Right. Well, I didn't notice you're throwing anything into the quarry because I was still looking for your dick. And that's what I do.
Well, that's what I threw into the quarry. That's why I wasn't.
Oh no! You gotta jump in again.
Well, it's funny. There's a little bookends to that because I start off the scene throwing a rock into the quarry, and then it looks like it's just me and Max there, and then Isabel's revealed, which I thought was kind of fun, a nice little director move, and then Jason, Max, throws. He gets mad at the end or frustrated, and then he throws a rock to finish the scene.
I gotta tell you, that Isabel response at the end fucking killed me, Brendan. Out of nowhere. You know how I don't like to feel feelings like that. I was angry. I was like, how dare this show do this to me? But oh my God. I also can't relate. It's all these things that just, it's not even some personal thing. It's just like, she fucking took us there.
Yeah.
You felt this girl's pain so badly. I was like, like I had that thing where, where tears jump out of your eyes. like an animation. It truly was like that. It went pink, out of nowhere. And I was like, oh,
that's so sweet. Yeah. And how do you, what is that? Is that writing? Is that having, I mean, it is obviously, but it's also the execution of that. And you could try to elicit that emotion. She tried to do it with the whole, again, going back to the significant others with the Jesse thing. And I didn't feel like it hit, and I didn't feel like it hit the same. And you're like, and it's the same, it's still Katie.
Right. But I think what's interesting is that it's more that thing of this, we're watching someone have one of their biggest sort of like cracks in their heart that will shape them and will forever kind of harden them. And it was just such a big first real kind of heartbreak in the department of I will never be seen by my parent. And that also like a realization that we're not going to tell them now. We're never going to tell them. I don't know. It was just so real and raw and unexpected. And you just like, you saw this girl's world shatter and how important it was to her. And that's the other thing too. Isabel is so much stronger than everyone else and kind of reserved in a way, you know, that for her to be so vulnerable, she was shattered. It was terrible. Oh.
Yeah, it feels like, you know, Max is in charge. He gets to make all the decisions. Michael gets to be the hothead, i.e. second in command, kind of always, pushing, but he's got an excuse because of the way he's, to be the way he is. They kind of give him, like, he's got a worse situation at home. He's more alone. So it's like all this makes sense. So he gets a little bit of that. But so he gets to kind of get those feelings out of coming in hot and off the cuff.
Right.
And
I guess it's like
and where does, but this is where Katie's like the middle child, even though she's the oldest. It's like that. Where does she fall into this? Like, it feels like she doesn't get a say, doesn't get to, always kind of has to listen to or take a side of Max and or Michael, who's caught in the middle. And This is the one thing I think this season, we're in episode 11, that, it's like she's asking for one thing to make her normal, and she's not getting it. And that's what makes it so, powerful and just so well done.
And it's the only just modicum of softness that she has in her life is this mother. And you realize in that moment just how much she needed or like craved that kind of just sweet, soft relationship that these two fucking lugs are not going to give her. And of course, a husband's not going to give her. It's just that special sort of mother-daughter thing that you're like, oh, and to know that you have to just bury that was so heartbreaking. But, oh, man. I feel, first of all, justice for Max. When they start calling him controlling, I was like, he fucking better be controlling. Meaning, yes, he's a little bit tightly wound about a lot, but thank goodness. That would just be so wild for him to be like, well, all right, and just not have to be so clenched with all of this. But
yeah, heavy is the head that wears the crown.
That's right. That's right. But he showed that teenage thing so beautifully when he lost it on his mom and was like, stop investigating us. It was so well done. It was like he wasn't that controlled sort of old soul Max. He devolved to a point to such a teenage, angsty, just love me. Like, why can't you just love me for like what you do, what you know and what you don't know? It was so heartbreaking. And then she's like, why don't you go find your real parents? I was like, what the fuck? That was crazy. She was like, listen, maybe your dad and I can't give you what you need. I was like, whoa.
Maybe we bit off more than we could chew.
Yeah, if you're not going to tell me the truth, maybe, I take this whole thing back. But it was...
And I will say, I always knew Michael was, hurt and vulnerable and kind of lashed out. But I will, watching this episode, I never... Again, I was just going off instinct, and I didn't have a process, which I've talked about before. And I said Michael's hurt is so apparent. Like, even in his lashing out, there is something behind it. It's not yelling for the sake of yelling. There's watching this, I just went, fuck, I knew what I was doing, or I got lucky, and it just kind of fit the mold. But I was like, I wasn't getting that deep into those things on a purposeful level. I mean, I would think about them, I would stew with them, and it was kind of this amorphous process that I would take. But it wasn't, I wasn't doing backstory. I wasn't going, this is what happened, and I remember that smell and this and whatever the case. Smells are important.
He smells his finger before every scene. Listen, everyone has their process.
And I just, yeah, it wasn't yelling for yelling's sake, which I was always kind of scared of doing and still am. And I don't know. I
I
really appreciated the dynamics of this episode of the aliens, of everyone's got their own, Katie wants to be seen. Jason's got to, be the bad guy and say no. Michael's got to be the bad guy for a different reason. He's coming at it from a completely different angle. And I liked all the dynamics of everything. And then obviously all the couples. Well, me and you, Michael and Maria, and then it was just, I don't know. It was all very good.
It's funny because it was very good. I didn't realize, I guess, quite as much how much Michael was sort of teed up to, if done wrong, be quite one note and not very layered and just like always like just popping out of nowhere and like getting upset about what they're doing, and so singularly focused that it really was a testament to, oh dang, like I'm gonna be nicer to Brendan. I guess he does have some talent. Because it was so, you just saw into this guy's soul, despite everything he's doing to make sure you don't. And I was very impressed with that.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah. Don't get too comfortable, though.
Yeah, I know. Not yet. Listen, I'm aware. I don't know. I think. Do you have any other notes? I don't. I just have
a note here that says basketball game. Yikes.
Yeah. I mean, well, I did think it was fun. I did enjoy them being in the bleachers and hanging out and watching this basketball game. Like I did that as a kid. I mean, I was usually playing, not basketball so much, but like volleyball, or you'd watch the team. I don't know. It just brings me back. I can smell the gym. I can smell the hardwood floor.
Again with the smells.
Yeah. I didn't think it was that badly done. I think that's the same gym, and I remember because this was big, and this is, I don't know why, this is very, very odd for me to say, but Idle Hands Devon Sawa. I know, it's out of nowhere, I'm telling you.
No,
they have I don't think I've ever seen, it's Jessica Alba and Devon Sawa, and they have Offspring play. I think it's like the first kind of the beginning of the Offspring, the band. And he had that had come out, and I think that's part of the reason why he got Final Destination. And Idle Hands was kind of big, and then the Offspring. And I think there's a scene in there in a gym with Offspring or whatever, and I think it's the same gym that we shot this in. But I could be totally wrong. I could just be making that entire thing up, and now this whole thing is totally moot and stupid.
Also, no one has really, I mean, do they have a way of fact checking? Just go with it.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, it was the same gym in Cary. I did have a note that I think is really important, which is, and this is one of those where I wonder if it was done on purpose, where Mary Ellen, Diane Evans is hearing probably for the first time about Max having a crush and having a girl that's going to be taken more seriously if he's ever even had a girl that he's mentioned. Meaning, I felt it was going to have gravitas. And it's just the most classic mom thing with a son where she literally lights herself on fire because her son is in love. They could have been talking about anything else. Meaning this woman cooks every fucking day, all day, and never lights the entire stovetop on fire until he mentions...
Oil fires can get out of hand.
Okay, I think she's cooking with oil. It's not the first time. I thought that was really symbolic and also so accurate.
That's funny.
That's something that I had to say. And then my note after that is just that I would like to dress from now on exactly like the sheriff. What an outfit.
What, just the Canadian tuxedo of it all?
Yeah, the Canadian tuxedo with the sheriff's jacket over it. Mm-hmm. The great belt.
He really pulls it off. I I have such a hard time pulling in a tucked shirt. My body doesn't do right by me because I think I got a high butt crack, but my butt's low. And
because I'm not thinking of the back of you when you're talking about tucking in your shirt. So go
I know,
ahead.
but the thing is,
That's where your dick
my
is. It's
pants
back there.
don't sit straight across my waistline. The front is always a little higher than the back. It's like it's doing a wheelie if you looked at me.
Interesting.
And like I just want my bum part to, like, I just want it there. Even this looks better if this was the front and that's the back. And it just kind of sits low. It makes it look very sloppy. And it just makes you look like, even if it's nicely tucked in and you're wearing a suit, it just looks very like slouchy, like, ugh. And I don't know. I guess Bill's got an
That's
ass
so
on him.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Bill's got an ass on him.
Bill's got an ass.
Yeah, I think as far as I don't think I have any other notes. Do you?
Okay. No, I mean, we are in the middle of season 1, and this is what we were supposed to be doing. While it might not be the greatest episode we've ever done, it is just in terms of execution and the subtlety and the details and the dynamics of it all. I just, for some reason, this one really, I was taken by it because I don't know what my expectations were, like good or bad. I was like, oh, we're in the middle of season 1. And then watching it, I just went, yeah, man.
When I was watching with my son, when he'd come in once in a while, Max painting the ceiling, I don't think I would have noticed anything, but being next to a child that will grow up to be a 16-year-old man, boy, where that's fucking never going to happen, was just, I think that made Max seem a little psychotic to me. I think if that, right? It was like, it had a bit of a darker thing to me. And I think that's just now having a son of my own. And this is one thing I just wanted to ask you real quick. The entire crux of the Michael and Maria blowout is because he didn't thank her. Correct? Please explain it to me.
Well,
it's like she's upset that when everything went down, he gets up and hugs them. Max and Isabel.
Yeah, he didn't hug you. Like you're an outsider. Like she saved the day. She saved me from the balance, right? In the balance, I kind of did all that. And then my first reaction is to hug them and not you. So it's another Michael not providing what Maria thinks is like a good a boyfriend or someone who cares about her or thinks about her first.
Right. It's another example of him shutting her out.
Yeah.
Essentially. Not letting her in.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he apologizes, right?
Mm-hmm. I do give you a look over Katie. I remember talking about this episode where I do hug them first, but like I do give you a little bit of a look.
Right. He's like,
not enough.
Wink.
I know.
Wink, wink. But then you apologize. Then Michael apologizes in this episode. And I found that to be very interesting because we both have many conversations. Not many, but we discuss apologies. And I'm still waiting for mine. No, I'm kidding. But no, meaning how people need apologies and then how you have to give them a certain kind of apology.
Go ahead.
What is the right one where it's like, I'm sorry I made you feel a certain way?
You can't tell someone you make them feel. You have to say sorry, but you can't say but. You can't go, I'm sorry,
I'm
but.
sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings.
Yeah, but if you said I made you feel, then you're saying that you have control of them. So that's not good either. It's like, I'm sorry I made you mad. And it's like.
I'm sorry. I'm
sorry for
like,
everything. Fine, I'm sorry for everything.
This is our way of saying, no, but
sorry,
it's like,
I'm having this conversation right now.
I'm sorry I hurt you at the basketball court by ignoring you.
Yeah, I think that's probably You have to acknowledge your part in, I don't know. Listen, I don't even like apologies. Just change your behavior.
Fucking can't. That's what I always say. And here's what's killing me about that someone would say to me, I'm sorry I hurt you at the basketball court because I ignored you, but they didn't do that on purpose, right? Now they're apologizing for this thing they didn't do, but it's because you perceived it to be that way. They have to take responsibility for that. I find it to be infantilizing. I don't like that.
Yeah, I always have a hard time apologizing for something. I'm not saying I didn't do it, but where I don't see the offense take. I can't comprehend or wrap my brain around the offense, and I can't comprehend how you would feel that way about it. And this is what makes me a little bit of a social psychopath, maybe. But I can apologize to you for it, but I don't know what I'm but I don't want that apology if someone doesn't understand that. That's
exactly my point. It's so patronizing to me for someone to say, I'm so sorry, I blah, blah, blah. Like, it's almost like they're just pacifying a child. I actually want the but, because if you tell me what you were experiencing when you ignored me on the basketball courts.
Yeah, give me the but.
I'm going to be like, oh. Otherwise, I kind of feel like I'm being just handled, and maybe you did ignore
placated. Me. Just like, I'm sorry, that should be enough. Now it's over, right?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I hurt your feelings when I did this thing that I didn't even do on purpose. Versus, I'm so sorry that I hurt your feelings, but I had just sharted, and I was looking for the bathroom, and so I didn't see you there.
I've heard this apology from her before, by the way.
At least once a week. But
it's in her diary.
But do you know what I mean? Then suddenly I, as the person being, who brought up the hurt feelings, would feel like, oh.
Yeah, I like the but. And there is a fine line of excusing your behavior, which is not good, but giving a reason for your behavior, which is different than excusing it, I think. You can still say, like, I shouldn't have done it, I understand, but you have to understand, I shouldn't have yelled at you. But you have to understand, I just came from this, and this was happening, and like, I wasn't in the right frame of mind. So you're not excusing. You're not saying I'm allowed to yell at you. You're giving a reason for it. So I'm like you, where I like the but.
He sure does. That's why it ended, folks. Too much.
I like the but always being careful not to excuse the behavior, but just giving a reason for it. That's all.
Yeah, because it actually feels, it's so much nicer to see like the other person's point of view, because then you can see like it wasn't this malicious or hateful thing. But it's funny how people always, I don't know, it's very strange, but it does not click for me, and it makes me feel really uncomfortable and insincere.
That's why I don't even apologize to you anymore.
I know. Well, sometimes you will, because you're just, you've been beaten down, but I just go, ugh.
Well, on that note, sorry to everyone listening for making you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, sorry
and for boring you.
Your butthole clenched at least 20 times.
Didn't want to make you feel, yeah. All right.
I'm sorry I made you feel amazing. So stupid.
I'm sorry I brightened your day.
I'm sorry this is the best podcast. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm sorry this one's over. Okay. Bye-bye.
I'm sorry. If, like us, you loved Roswell and wanted to keep watching the push and pull of Michael and Maria, then check out our show, Baron and Toluca. A brand new story set in a familiar town in New Mexico where a familiar combustible love is still playing out, and where paranormal forces still have plans, whether you believe in them or not. Check out the first 2 episodes at www.youtube.com/@xfilespod. That's EXFILESPOD. The X-Files with Majandra Delfino
and Brendan Fair is a production of Portholes Inc. Media.
Edited and mixed by Stephen Wells.
Theme music by Fred Corey.